Everyone, Jake here. I got a few new things. Lapel mic now, so hopefully my audio quality is not quite as bad. Got the camera on a tripod there. Got a new house even. Unfortunately, I did have to get rid of the Jag. I traded it for something else, which is going to be probably an even larger drain on my life. But this is from that. These are a pair of Keihin CVK carburetors. CVK means constant velocity K. I don't know what the K stands for. And they don't work. So I'm going to start taking them apart and we're going to make them work. So let's see. I've already had these out 3 or 4 times. I've already cleaned them twice. But I'm just going to do it again on camera here just for the views, obviously, and educational purposes. Because, of course, I've already replaced these screws with these nice X heads. Much nicer, much less prone to stripping, and I'll get into that later because that's one of the things I'm going to be doing on the other side here because I've been taking these apart so much. These caps, I'm going to replace these. These look like Phillips. I don't think they're actually Phillips. Either way, I hate them. What I think these are is the Japanese Industrial Standard, or JIS. As you can see, a Phillips will fit, sort of. And if you try really hard, you can unscrew them. But they do like to strip really hardcore if you're not careful. And I'm not a huge fan of all that. And I'm taking this apart so much that I just don't want to deal with that. So if I got some more hardware here, shiny stainless steel, should do very well to replace all of these, and I'm actually going to change tactics here and take this apart first. When you're doing stuff like this, always have a parts tray. Put all your parts in the parts tray. It'll save you much grief later. These don't go in the parts tray because these are going in the trash. I really don't like Phillips or anything remotely similar to Phillips. I'm a big boy. I don't need my fasteners to cam out when I over torque them. I want them to just strip like a real man. I believe, I'm not sure if it's apocryphal or not. Apocryphal? Is that the correct term? Not sure. I'm sure someone will correct me though. But I've heard a story that Phillips was developed, and I have never bothered to confirm this. It's just something that I've kind of remembered. Is that Phillips was developed sometime in World War I or II when they had a bunch of unskilled laborers, mostly women, and I'm not being sexist, that's just the way the times were back then, stay-at-home mothers and such, called upon to go into factories, and they didn't really know how to do this sort of thing. So the Phillips was designed so that when it reached a relatively tight torque, the screwdriver would just slip out of it, which, will strip the heads if you try too hard, but the idea there was to keep from breaking parts by over-tightening the fastener. So I've got the head off, and I've already run these through a cleaner, and they were way, way nicer than they were before. I did film that. I may or may not put that video up before this one, or it might all be the same video. I'm not sure. Gonna carefully remove this diaphragm here. And this is the constant velocity part of the constant velocity carburetors. This vacuum diaphragm pushes this needle, or pulls this needle up and down in an emulsion tube to add to add more or less fuel to the fuel stream. Be very careful with these. According to the factory service manual, if these are torn, you just buy a whole new carburetor. I've actually had an extremely hard time finding replacements for these because I was kind of curious. So generally just advise to don't break them in the first place. And I'm gonna get this fuel hose out of here because it is annoying me. And cleaning carburetors is something that is an obnoxiously, well, it's just an obnoxious process altogether. I mean, I've done it three times on this one so far, and it still isn't running right. So something is still clogged up here, and we'd confirm a fuel delivery issue. There we go, fuel line off. Put that back there. Take off this other cover, and usually when you do this for the first time, you're going to want to keep the two carburetors separate, so all the parts from this would be separate from all the parts in this one. Because a lot of the times there will be slight slightly different parts between the two due to, I guess, factory calibrations. So maybe a jet size will be slightly different, slightly larger, smaller, just to account for whatever when they calibrate it in the factory. These are both identical, so we were careful about that the first time, but now that I know it's not an issue, I've not really cared. This is going to want to spring out, so try and keep a handle on that. Spring, diaphragm, needle keeper, a needle, and these needles will have a little inscription on them somewhere. In this case, it's around the base. You can check that against your factory service manual to make sure that matches what's supposed to be carb. Come on. Little vacuum nipple. That off. Not actually entirely sure why I have that on there, to be honest. Just gonna keep taking these bowls off. And there's the bowl gasket. That is one of the things that comes in a rebuild kit for these carbs. And here is so that is the floats. That is the main jet, pilot jet. That is called the idle jet, I believe. It's actually non-serviceable, non-removable, and it's connected to the choke system. That is the pilot screw. Okay, so first thing to do once you have this apart is I'm going to take a thin little one of these, and there's a pin here. Push that pin out, move that, and the bowl will come off. That right there is the bowl needle. It's actually a spring-loaded little thing, and that controls how much fuel comes into the carburetor bowls as sort of like a staging area where it then shoots into the carburetor itself. The other thing I'm going to take out here is the pilot screw, and if you're taking this apart for the first time, you're going to want to screw it in until it stops and count how many you go. In this case, it's going to be half, 1 turn, 1.5 turns, 2 turns, and about a quarter or a bit, and that's pretty much what the factory service manual says to set it to for this particular application, just as a starting point. And that is something that you'll have to mess with. A lot of the times there'll be a metal plug that you'll have to drill a hole in and take out with a pick. That's an emissions thing. They don't want you messing with your mixture and polluting the planet. So that is a little needle. The screw has a needle there on the tip. Mine were broken when I got this, and oh boy, where's the rest of it? Doesn't want to play. How frustrating. The other things up there are going to be a tiny washer and a tiny little spring and a tiny little O-ring, which isn't coming out. So that's fun. Might have to deal with that later. So what else we have here? Flathead screwdriver down here. There we go. Ooh. What? I bent my screwdriver. How is that in there so tight? If I can straighten my screwdriver out. Okay, well, we'll take out the main jet first, and we'll come back to that pilot jet. This is actually 2 separate pieces here, emulsion tube, and then the jet there. I'm just going to leave those together for now. That's pretty much everything except for that one jet there. I'm going to need a slightly more robust screwdriver for that, it looks like. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I mean, I put it in with this screwdriver. Alright, we'll take off the other bowl, I guess. pull off. Push out that little pin again. And this here is the idle stopper. Just it defines the shut position of the throttle blades and nope. In, pull, needle, done. Okay. And the reason to take all this out just to clean it is that I really don't want to risk any of these really precise little pieces getting damaged. And there you can see it all came out. Screw, washer, little O-ring for the pilot jet. I'm gonna put all that back sort of together so that it stays in place. And out with the main jet. Oh. Gonna need a wrench. So the jet is just screwing out of the emulsion tube. So let's see here. Oh, these are not metric. Well, it's a 10 millimeter. Let's see if a 5/16 will work. It will. Fantastic. Off it comes. Put that away because we won't need it. Okay. Pull the emulsion tube out. Show you how these come apart. That's the main jet. That's the emulsion tube. Usually just stay together. All right. And then we'll see if the pilot jet will come. No. What on earth? They're both just stuck in there. Wimpy little screwdriver. Harbor Freight though. Not sure what you can really expect. Alright, so those screws are all going to go away. So that, what you're left with there is pretty much an empty carb. The chokes are still on it. The adjustment there is still on it. So now I'm going to shove everything out of the way. And bring in more Harbor Freight. So what we have here, this is an ultrasonic cleaner. Basically, it's just a tub, fill it with water and some detergent of your choosing. You toss parts in and it bombards them with both heat and ultrasonic waves as sort of a mechanical agitation to get debris free. So these are just going to go in there. I'm going to fill it up with water, and I use Crud Cutter. Ta-da! I use Crud Cutter at about a 1 to 10 dilution, and I'm just going to stick that in there. I'm going to let this run for about a half hour. My battery died. Man, these Nikon batteries sure do last a while. Anyway, got the carb, got the ultrasonic cleaner. So, get that back out. What I am going to do is grab a cup, warm water flowing. Might as well just make it warm water. Less work for this to do. You do have this drain here you can set small parts on so they don't touch the bottom. And there is a max fill line about there. So, gonna okay, that is about good. I'm going to go ahead and just plug my tray of parts out of the way. Don't want to bump that stuff everywhere. Plug her in. Plug her in again. Now remember to get water all over the plug when you plug it in. It's like you don't even need an energy drink that way. I'm going to hit T, which turns on the heater. Little red light. I'm going to grab Crud Cutter. So I'm about a ½ an inch below the max fill line. I'm gonna go call that. And this stuff is nice. It's like simple green on crack. It says earth friendly on it, so I'm assuming it's still, you know, not the worst thing in the world. It's non-toxic. It doesn't appear to eat plastic or rubber because there are, as you can see, you know, there's still the knob there, rubber bits in the choke. Oh, hey, here we go. Speaking of rubber, that's one of the little O-rings. Grab my parts here so I can reassemble that now that it's come out. I was going to just wait for it to fall out in there, so that's for our other idle screw. So spring, then washer, the rubber O-ring kind of goes on the end. Helps keep it all in one piece. There we go. There's one more mystery solved. So let's see. We're a little bit shy of the max fill line still, which is fine because, you know, it's going to displace water because science and stuff. So it doesn't all fit in there. I'm just going to put it in this way. There we go. And max this will do is 408 seconds. So I'm just going to run that. It makes that awful noise. I can come over here and grab the camera. I hope you took your motion sickness pills. Okay. So here it is, it's doing its thing. There's not really a whole lot to look at. It just kind of makes that noise and sits there for a while that counts down. So I'm probably going to let this cook for about 3 or 4 cycles, and then I'm going to flip it over and go another 3 or 4 cycles. I'm not going to get this done in this video, most likely. I'm going to have to take it out. I'm going to take it and I have to find someone who has compressed air that I can use, like an air compressor, and then you want to get that into those passages. Focus. You want to take the compressed air and blow out all the passages for the jets and stuff and blow out the choke so that all the little, sort of see the little holes in there. That's where fuel-air mixture needs to go, come out. So I'm going to blow through, make sure that air comes through all of those. They're not clogged or anything. Then it should, in theory, it should work upon reassembly, but we will see. And in the next video, you'll see me putting this all back together with the shiny new hardware. Should be a great load of fun. I will see you all next time.